Have you ever wondered what could have possibly led young Frenchmen to join the resistance during the German occupation? The year was 1940, and a pall of gloom had descended over France. The once vibrant nation had fallen to the relentless military might of the Germans, marking the onset of a dark period in its history. The initial shock of defeat was palpable, with a sense of disbelief permeating through the French populace. The streets of Paris, once bustling with life, now echoed with the ominous march of German boots. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, the reality of the occupation began to sink in. The initial shock gave way to a slow acceptance, a grudging realization of the new world order. This wasn't a temporary setback. It was an occupation. A foreign power had taken control, and life as the French knew it had drastically changed. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a sense of despair and uncertainty. Yet, amidst this grim backdrop, something else was stirring. A phenomenon that would drastically impact the French society and shape the course of the resistance. This was not a military strategy or an act of defiance, but a human reaction to the circumstances, a desperate attempt at survival. This phenomenon was known as horizontal collaboration, a term that refers to the romantic or sexual relationships that many French women had with German soldiers. It was a complex and controversial reaction to the occupation, a choice made by some women for a multitude of reasons. Some sought protection, others were driven by love or lust, and some, tragically, had little choice in the matter. As the German forces took control, a phenomenon known as horizontal collaboration emerged, drastically impacting the French society and the resistance. The term horizontal collaboration seems innocent enough, doesn't it? But what does it truly entail? This phrase, seemingly benign, is deeply rooted in the pages of history, specifically during the German occupation of France in the 1940s. It refers to the romantic or sexual relationships that many French women formed with German soldiers. These relationships were a complex mix of emotions and motivations. For some women, it was about survival. The harsh realities of war meant that aligning oneself with the occupiers could mean the difference between life and death. For others, it was about fear. The German forces were a formidable presence, and it was easier for some to submit rather than resist. And then there were those who genuinely fell in love. Society, however, viewed these relationships with disdain and contempt. The French people saw these liaisons as betrayals, as their fellow countrymen were suffering at the hands of the same German forces. They saw these women not as victims or survivors, but as collaborators, traitors to their own country. But this disdain was not equally distributed. It was the young French men who harbored the deepest resentment. They saw their sisters, their girlfriends, their mothers, aligning themselves with the enemy. They saw these women, who they once held dear, in the arms of the very men they were fighting against. This resentment, this anger, fueled a desire for resistance. These young men, unable to bear the sight of their loved ones with the enemy, decided to fight back. And so, they joined the French resistance, a group of individuals who refused to bow down to the German forces. The widespread horizontal collaboration stirred deep-seated resentment and anger, especially among young French men. But it also sparked a fire, a determination to resist, to fight back, and to reclaim their country from the clutches of the German forces. Now, how did this horizontal collaboration influence young men to join the French resistance? This question is key to understanding the complex emotional landscape of France during the German occupation. Horizontal collaboration, the romantic or sexual relationships between French women and German occupiers, was seen by many as a betrayal, a knife in the heart of French national pride. Imagine being a young man in this era, seeing your fellow countrywomen in relationships with the enemy. The sense of betrayal and resentment was palpable. It's no surprise that this situation stirred up a mixture of emotions, from anger and humiliation to a burning desire for revenge. These emotions were not idle. They became potent fuel, driving many young Frenchmen to take action. They found a channel for their resentment and their desire to reclaim their nation's honor in the French resistance. As they watched their countrywomen involved with the occupiers, their resolve hardened. They could not stand by and watch their nation's pride being eroded. The resistance offered them a way to fight back, to resist the occupation, and to restore their nation's dignity. The French resistance was more than just an armed rebellion. It was a symbol of national unity and defiance in the face of occupation. It was a way for the French people to assert their identity and their values. And the horizontal collaboration played a crucial role in shaping this resistance. It was a stark and daily reminder of the occupation, a visual representation of the enemy within. It stirred up a powerful sense of national pride and a determined will to resist. The sight of horizontal collaboration was a catalyst, igniting the spark of resistance in many young French men. It became a rallying point, a symbol of the occupation's intrusion into their lives and their culture. It provoked a strong reaction, a determination to fight back and to reclaim their nation. This resentment and the desire for revenge became a major driving force for the French resistance. This discord sowed the seeds of a determined rebellion, fueling the French resistance and marking a turning point in the nation's struggle against the occupation. What happened after the liberation of France? Did the collaborators escape unscathed? In the aftermath of the liberation, France was eager to cleanse itself of the stain of collaboration. Women accused of horizontal collaboration became the targets of public shaming. The punishment: their heads were shaved, a visible mark of their betrayal, a symbol of their shame. But the lines of guilt were not always clear. Many of these women were merely professionals who had provided services to the Germans, not necessarily engaged in romantic or sexual relationships. Yet, they bore the brunt of public anger and humiliation. And what of the children born from these liaisons? It is estimated that 200,000 French babies were born as a result of these relationships. They too bore the stigma of their mother's alleged collaboration. In a twist of compassion and recognition, Germany offered citizenship to these children in 2009, acknowledging their complex heritage. But the ripples of horizontal collaboration extended beyond France. In other occupied countries like Serbia and Norway, similar instances of collaboration and punishment occurred. The women in Norway faced public exile, arrest, or internment. Their children were deemed illegitimate. However, in 2018, the Norwegian Prime Minister issued an apology to these women and their children. Yet, an official apology from France or Serbia remains absent. The phenomenon of horizontal collaboration, in all its complexity and controversy, has been immortalized in films like Hiroshima Mon Amour and Malena. These narratives serve to remind us of a time when love, survival, and politics blurred the lines of loyalty and betrayal. In conclusion, horizontal collaboration played a significant role in the rise of the French resistance, serving as a catalyst for many young men to join the fight against the German occupation. This chapter of history, marked by desperation, resilience, and the human instinct for survival, continues to engage and challenge us.